We're talking about the history of humanity and how we have been influenced. And it's like we deserve to know that, and we deserve the technologies that are being suppressed.
We're being exposed to only so much information. We're not being fully educated. There's a difference.
What percentage of UAP sightings, in your belief, go unreported by our pilots?
I would estimate we're somewhere near 5% reporting, perhaps 5% reporting.
If there isn't anything, then why the push to cover it up?
We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
By then, I had already accepted this new paradigm of there being, as Senator Inouye said, and I'm quoting, there's a secret government with its own Air Force,
its own Navy, its own fundraising mechanism, and the ability to pursue its own ideas of the national interest, free from all checks and balances, and free from the law itself. Free from the law itself. Free from the law itself.
Thank you for tuning into our podcast. We have created a referendum known as the It Can't Be a Joke Revolution and Initiatives. This is a movement of thought and consciousness. Our mission is to educate and plant the seeds of curiosity surrounding the issues that we deem most critical, with the goal of freeing humanity from the powers that seek to hold us down.
We use this as an opportunity to not only expose the corruption in our country and world, but to discuss the importance of consciousness, self-awareness, and spiritual evolution as we seek to crack the riddles of life and our purpose on this planet.
Melissa,
Kevin,
let's blast off.
Let's.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We hope everybody is staying healthy, informed, and aware of the propaganda directed at us from both sides of the political spectrum to keep us fighting and oblivious to the true enemy, them. And by them, we mean the political elite, the billionaires,
The companies that own the media and control what we see, what we read, what we get exposed to.
the programming
The programming.
that they call it right in our faces. The Hollywood elite forcing the propaganda for whichever side it's on.
The social media, everything that has kind of just become everyone's norm.
Scrolling and the data that's being sent off for anything we talk about, anything you search, you're going to be getting advertised to that because we are just the consumers. They just want us to keep spending.
Yep.
That's what they want. And today we are going to be talking about directed energy weapons, as well as 5G. And directed energy weapons are also known as DEWs.
Much of what we will discuss today is backed and confirmed by sources such as our own government websites, mainstream media news releases, and whistleblower testimonials. But we will be providing along the way, of course, our own analysis and theories.
It's important for people to be aware of the current technologies that our military and other militaries of the world have in their possession, and have had in their possession for a long time. So imagine the Star Wars death beam. For the majority of our lives, we believe this was just science fiction and a joke.
But in reality, this is something that they began research on, the energy weapons and technology that started back in the early 1900s, and soon after had militarized the advancements in technology and then kept it under wraps and, of course, far from the reach of the common man. So directed energy weapons encompass lasers, microwaves, particle beams, and scalar weapons. The purpose of a DEW is to damage a target or disrupt electronics with pinpoint accuracy at astronomical speeds. There are theories that they use scalar weapons to bring down real extraterrestrial craft. They then retrieve the crashed UFO and reverse engineer them, and they've been doing it since the 40s. So let's get into this episode all about directed energy weapons and 5G. Starting with the U.S. Government Accountability Office and what they have to say about these weapons. The U.S. Government Accountability Office states directed energy weapons, such as lasers, use energy fired at the speed of light. These weapons can produce force that ranges from deterrent to damaging to destructive. Many countries, including the U.S., are researching their use.
So there's a website that they have now where did they just put it up there to be like, okay, well, is it them trying to cover their tracks? Here's our office that we're going to hold ourselves accountable. So here's all
Oh, of course
some of the
it
stuff.
is. Let's start researching their use. Well, they've had the technology, like we always talk about, for, they're 100 to 200 years ahead of us that we know. All of this stuff that they talk about, they've had for the last 70 years, like all the cell phone technology they've had, and then they put it out because they put it out there as if it's going to help humanity, but really they're just studying it.
Yeah.
How can we get these people hooked on their phones and this technology and then this, and this? A long time ago, if they said we had to have cell phones, people would be like, no, my house phone's fine. If they forced it upon us, they're not going to force people to have cell phones. They just condition you into it and to be totally reliant on your phone. And then it's going to be, that's how they slowly condition people to want a chip inside their body with, I don't know what the term is, but wearable technology, your watch, logging in with your retinas and it's all that slow conditioning because they know that they can't force it upon humanity or else we will rebel.
Right. And the programming at first was the TV.
Yeah.
For when we're having electronics and we have this type of tech. Before it would have been the newspaper.
Yeah.
And before it would have been the guy standing on the street corner giving his speech and, shouting from the rooftops.
Well, yeah. Well, and people too sitting around the radio before TV. Families would turn on the radio and you only had 2 different stations to listen to. That's where your information was coming from. That's what you got.
You know how easy it would be to manipulate and control everyone when it's like, here's your 2 options.
Yeah.
Which is very similar. And for how long it was like that still in our lifetime with, here's the news agencies. You got CNN, you got Fox, you got MSNBC, and you got ABC, whatever the other ones are. And you think you're like identifying and aligning with one, and that's the right one because they're really presenting me with the truth and how it is, when if you look into a lot of these things that the CIA does to control them, it's all controlled anyway. And it's going...
all the information's still coming from the 1 or 2 or 3 corporations that own everything.
Mm-hmm. And their viewership has gone down. It's plummeted because people are just sick of it.
Yeah.
But they're still the people who are in charge. If it doesn't come from the mainstream news article, then it's not true.
Yeah.
So we'll have 1 billion people out here posting videos of weather modification and chemtrails and stratosphere aerosol injection, or solar geoengineering, if you want the nice fancy terms for it, with the blatantly obvious proof. It's all over the place. It's on X all over. You can't post it on TikTok because they take down our videos within 5 seconds. Literally, within 5 seconds, if it has anything to do with it, they'll take it down. That's actually censorship.
Yeah, didn't they take the Dagon God
They
clip
took
down?
Oh my gosh.
That's crazy.
So in our Book of Enoch episode, we're talking about, we call him Dogon, but I think his name's also Dagon.
Okay.
Dagon. But we call him Dogon, the fish guy. And yeah, they took down our 30-second little reel on him being a ancient Mesopotamian fish god deity that was part man, part fish, and talking about his connection to the Pope and the Pope's hat. And they took down the video citing sexual references, something so irrelevant.
I know.
We don't even talk about it. We're literally talking about an ancient Mesopotamian deity.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And they're going to take it down and cite sexual references.
That's so crazy. It doesn't make sense.
Absolutely insane because of all the other trash that's posted in disgusting, like the degradation of society and the just gross videos that are posted on there of the people dancing and twerking. And no, they're not going to take that down.
No.
But when we put an educational piece of content on there, it's taken down because it doesn't fit with their narrative. They gave the most dumb reason ever. They must really not want people noticing the connection between that ancient deity and the Pope in his hat.
Yeah, they want us dumb.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And the other one, real quick, it was like election something about election for a weather modification one. When we're in New Hampshire at Packmanondag Mountain, and we're just doing, what's all this stuff up there? Oh, well, it's and we're just giving it's like a 1-minute clip, and they cited election integrity. They took it down within 5 seconds. Election integrity. It has nothing to do. We weren't even talking about the election. So
thanks, AI.
These media, because the media is not just CNN, Fox, and MSNBC. It's the apps that people use to transfer information. And so they censor the stuff that they don't want people seeing and to gain traction because it'll wake people up. So it's blatant censorship, which is, it's illegal.
Yeah.
Well, it's also, they talk about it in the history books of Nazi Germany and the censorship campaigns. Well, it's like, oh, they've been doing that here for so long because we brought all the Nazis right over here after World War II in Operation Paperclip. Yes. And if you're new to that one, just do a quick little Google search. It'll show you. It'll tell you everything you need to know. We brought all the Nazis over here.
So the U.S. Government Accountability Office stating that directed energy weapons, they're lasers, they're fired at the speed of light, and they can produce force that ranges from deterrent, damaging to destructive. So we were discussing how many are now just researching their use.
Yeah, they've been using them for a very long time. And that's what they use to bring down UFOs. And the other crazy thing to think of real quick is if you've looked into remote viewing and the CIA programs where they take people who have like psi abilities with consciousness to have them summon in UFOs, extraterrestrials, saying, hey, everything's good. I want to talk to you. And the CIA has even had documents about people that are in their programs.
Yep.
And they can take control of the UFOs because the UFOs are operated by consciousness. Crazy stuff. But they'll bring them in, they summon them in by the CIA and the military, and then they shoot them down. And then they reverse engineer them.
And the scalar waves that are part of the 5G and the electromagnetic frequencies, they can't be measured. So it's kind of, remote viewing is that non-locality, that consciousness, like connecting like instantly. So it's not that crazy if you can understand the physics around that non-locality. When you call in, you use your consciousness to communicate. It's instant when you want to call in. Like when we thought we summoned some UFOs, or when you're meditating and speaking to the universe or God, that's instant. So I feel like that has something to do with it, and they keep that technology or that power hidden from us.
Another topic that brings up that's important to talk about is in our episode Meditation to the Stars, which is conscious contact to non-human intelligence, extraterrestrials, to a higher power, to God. It's it's literally prayer and meditation, and you're communicating and you're out in nature and you're looking up. We became aware of this with Dr. Stephen Greer and his documentary Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. And so we were doing it a couple years ago. I mean, we've been getting film ever since then. And it's like, we know we get military stuff and we get stuff that's definitely non-human.
Yeah.
And Tim Burchett, who has spoken to Greer, and he's in some UFO documentaries, and he's one of the UFO congressmen who's pushing for disclosure. But how far of disclosure is he actually pushing for? Because he came out and said that he believes, he's kind of scared when people are doing it. What worries me is that they're doing some kinds of seances and they're pulling in evil spirits and demons, and that does scare me, and that really scares me. And I like Burchett, but when he says that, if that's firmly what he believes and he's super old school, okay. But my point is, what's the difference when someone in the Bible is lost and they're seeking God and they go out into nature and they call up to heaven and they're calling to God, and then God appears or something appears and it's a big orb, or it's the wheel, and is Ezekiel's wheel, and it's this UFO, this big UFO. What's the difference? I don't know if there is a difference when you do it with good energy and thought. Like, Burchett, you could go out there and pray to God. That's what I do. Mm-hmm. That's what, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Is that what
of course, sometimes I ask for a sign.
Yes.
And later on it'll come. It might not be instantaneous, but one time I was asking for a sign, and like sometimes you try to be a little specific. Some people get messages from, maybe a monarch butterfly. That might be a repeated thing. Anyway, I asked for like a little red bird chirping, and a few days later it was out there, and that was just kind of my connection to God and receiving, sending me a message through nature. I mean, that's how the Native Americans taught, how they talked to their ancestors and to God.
And it's communicating with God, the higher power, the good.
Yeah.
And I've had, over the past couple years, since I've started to get more in tune with consciousness and prayer, meditation.
Your inner voice, that everyone's got the good angel and the devil on their shoulder. Get more in tune with your inner guidance, which is that God's spirit, the holy, whatever you want to call it.
The Holy Spirit. And I've had downloads over the past couple years where I have an entire concept or idea that is suddenly just inserted into my brain, like it was downloaded. And we were doing meditation to the stars, CE5, in our backyard about 1.5 years ago. And suddenly this download hit my brain. And it was like, basically, it just told me, or went in, here's this idea, here's this thought. And it was like a lot of the UFOs that people see, many of the extraterrestrials or aliens, as people would say, or whatever. We talked about it earlier, the different terms. Humans, but like not humans from our timeline of living in the 21st century and controlled by a cabal of evil devil worshippers. Not that timeline here, but maybe 3,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago, maybe there's about to be some big apocalyptic event, and that event happened, but they took a bunch of humans that were around at that time. So up into space or over beyond the ice wall, if everything is just here. There's a lot of different theories we actually all don't know. They could have been taken, that group of humans, maybe there's 20 or 30, or maybe there's 100, and they were brought up with them, angels, the good, who knows?
Yeah.
But that our human, we're in our generation, our timeline, they're still on the same time frame, but instead of them being around with all of us, they're still humans just like us, but 3,000 years ago they were brought to a totally different civilization that's way more advanced than ours. So they had kids, and their kids grew up, and there's many generations of humans. Their conscious power is probably 50 times more than ours, but they're humans just like us, but they're out in space and they're flying around, or they're over beyond the ice wall and they're flying around, but they're from a different. Does that make sense?
I think so.
So essentially, the humans would have been 4,000 years ago, same timeline as us. Bunch of humans were wiped out, but let's just say 50 were taken with extraterrestrials off into space, and then they lived with them and had kids and generations, and they're just part of that community. So when there's human aliens, quote unquote, there very well could be, and they've been involved with them for thousands of years. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Are you saying that that's who you're making conscious contact with? Or
I'm saying I had a download that's a possibility that happened.
Okay.
That's how humans would have been taken out into space. And because there's a lot of people who, when they've had close encounters of the first kind, I believe that's first kind, where you straight up are talking and you see an alien, whether it's a gray, whether it's whatever.
I thought that was the fourth kind. The first is seeing a craft, a UFO.
Okay, yes. So the fourth kind, if you have an actual conversation, you're seeing them, you're talking to them.
Yeah.
A lot of people's experience, they see a human walk out of a UFO, and they have long blonde hair and they look just like us or something.
Yeah.
That's their experience with them. So in my mind, it's like, yeah, that's true. Here's how it happened.
Yeah,
they would have just been taken through and a long time ago in history when they were on our timeline still, but let's just say the rest of humanity got wiped out, except, I don't know, Noah. And then these other people, I'm just trying, there's many different ways that it could have happened, but apocalyptic event happened.
Yes.
Then they brought these 50 people with them. But that was a download that I had in my head where it was suddenly just like, and it hit. And I was like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. So
wow.
Now you're aware and all the listeners are aware.
Yes.
I think it makes sense. It could be.
No,
you know, who knows?
I agree.
Can't be a joke. So we got sidetracked a little there, but we're putting together all the pieces of different things for a listener that maybe just came in. There's a lot of episodes to catch up on. But they use directed energy weapons to bring down craft. They reverse engineer them. And they have this crazy technology.
And they gave a reason why they would want to use directed energy weapons.
They use energy instead of bullets or missiles. Directed energy weapons essentially are immediate. It's just boom, it's there. Faster than the speed of light. And the U.S. Government Accountability Office, they're saying the use of energy instead of bullets or missiles is way cheaper and less expensive per shot. They essentially have unlimited firing power.
Yeah, because of the technology that they're using, which actually has a lot of long-term health effects when you think of all of the radio frequencies, the towers that they are placing all around us. So the health effects are really unclear. Of course, they'll say they haven't studied it, but that's another lie. They also generally have a shorter range than conventional weapons. That's another excuse they use. And weather conditions, such as fog and storms, can make certain directed energy weapons less effective.
Is that right? Government Office of Accountability. Pretty sure you're using directed energy weapons to manipulate the storm.
Yeah, what a
lot
BS statement there.
No, it's a funny one.
Yeah.
They say that there's a surge in interest in directed energy weapons from several nations, including the U.S., like they haven't already been doing it forever. They're such liars. Primarily for counter-drone missions. These weapons use electromagnetic energy to cause effects ranging from deterrence to destruction. They offer capabilities that conventional weapons may not, but challenges have so far prevented widespread operational use. I call another big load of baloney.
That's why they're putting all of these drones out in the news, and we don't know, and it's all just a mystery to us. So then they're going to throw that in there of how dues can be beneficial.
And then they're trying to say different challenges for the widespread operational use, because they know the true widespread operational use is 0-point energy. That's what they don't want. And they're putting out these tiny breadcrumbs. Oh, Harvard researchers say they just had a breakthrough study in yada yada. It's just a complete fabrication, and they're going to push it through. Oh, Harvard or MIT or who at Yale, that they came out with some groundbreaking study in the field of electromagnetic propulsion systems.
They already knew that. The scalar waves are sometimes referred to as Tesla waves that they use in directed energy weapons. There's transverse waves, there's scalar waves.
If you're a listener who's been with us from the beginning, Tesla is the GOAT. And we believe he's the GOAT. He found out how to pull electricity from Earth's magnetic field, transmit it wirelessly for free. Don't need to burn oil or gas or coal. You can just use the Earth as your energy source.
Right.
But they don't want us to have that, because then they have no power over us, because they control the power.
So I found an article on scalar energy from Grounded Wellness. They're a company in the UK that studies the electromagnetic frequencies, and they create products like EMF blockers, infrared blankets, stuff that block blue light and EMFs. They stated scalar fields exist in the informational/non-physical component of all matter. So transverse waves are the part of the EMF that can be measured by meters, because they usually exist fully in three-dimensional space and are easily measurable. The term transverse refers to the oscillating motion of the wave, the up and down movement through 3D space. So transverse waves are what are currently being used in electricity and telecommunications, since they were more easily detectable and quantifiable to early scientists and electrical engineers. The longitudinal or scalar component of the EM wave does not exist normally in 3D space. It moves along the axis of time itself, which they refer to as the fourth dimension. It sounds kind of mysterious and may be hard to understand if you're just hearing it for the first time or if you haven't ever delved deeply into quantum mechanics, but this is considered to be simply compressed energy, compressed by the factor of the speed of light squared. So they're lying when they say that these dews travel at the speed of light. It's faster than the speed of light. They're superluminal, which means they move faster than the speed of light because they're unbound by the limitations of 3D space. They exist in that fourth dimension, that non-locality.
Quantum entanglement kind of stuff, right?
Yes.
Like it travels from here and it pulls and suddenly it's just there.
Yeah, and that's how they say, that's how we believe some of those light beings that we call in looks like they just bloop,
they come
into this dimension. Yeah, out of
crazy.
nowhere. And the scalar waves, since they don't exist in 3D, they move through the empty space and they can move between all matter. They're not limited or blocked by physical obstructions like transverse waves are. So that's really important to point out because they're lying about the dews and the radio frequencies that are harmful. The scalar waves pass through physical matter into you.
And what Greer talks about is the scalar weapons, and they're using scalar to bring down the craft, which I don't think 5G is necessarily putting scalar through us, but it is putting radiation and like microwaves. The scalar weapons, what Greer is talking about, they fire off and they continue going though. They just keep going. And that's why the extraterrestrials are like, you need to stop taking down our craft and killing our people. And you need to stop firing those because those are just blasting out through space. And you can't be doing that. You got to think it's just the bad ETs on Earth. I mean, when you look into the reptilian theory and that they just do not care, that they're amongst the people, they shapeshift all of this. It sounds absolutely kooky.
It does.
But like when you search David Icke and look at his theories and look at whistleblowers who were people that talk about they were trafficked for years upon years upon years. I can't remember her name, but she's talking about how she saw Epstein.
Yeah.
She saw Epstein because she was trafficked by him turn into a straight up reptilian demon.
Seriously?
Oh, yeah. It's terrifying. When you look at pictures of Epstein, some of his pictures, he's got this creepy ass face where it's like, wait, is that even the dude? And his smile is way too big. And it's just like, I wouldn't be shocked if that dude was.
Also,
evil.
like the reptilians, they control humanity. They feed off of negative energy. That's what it's become if they're really controlling everything. Everything's to keep us in fear. How they gain control is to create a problem and then come up with a solution for the problem, which is just manipulating humanity and keeping us as their slaves.
Yes,
I mean,
it
that's what they describe this species as. And
pure evil.
yes, they don't know love. They don't feel that. So
They try to suck it out of us. They try to suck our light source out because they feed on it. It's the epitome of evil. It's the demons. It's the devils.
Yeah.
And these huge world wars where hundreds of millions of people die. These are just like sacrifices to the devil and to their evil agenda.
Yeah.
And when you think of evil, like how can some humans be so evil? It's like,
I know.
I don't think it's like normal humans.
No,
Most
I don't
aren't,
either.
because we have souls and consciousness, and like you don't want to do that because it's so evil and bad and you despise it. But
and
it's
that's why the news, like the main thing they focus on is our differences and the war and the fighting to make us think that we're so different from each other. But when I think about it and the people I meet every day, I'm like, we all just want the same things. We just want to live a happy life in peace. We don't want to have to slave away, and we don't want to be bothered, and we don't want to hurt each other.
Until
not natural.
It isn't. And then some people just feed into the propaganda though, and then they won't start wanting to hurt a lot of people.
Or
and
themselves.
Hurt themselves in many ways. and destroy themselves. And because when you look at some of the propaganda that's being pushed, it's like, why would you want to do that? There's so much different stuff. You just tune into what's going on in the world each day and you see it's like, oh my God, it's crazy.
Yeah, there was someone up in Canada who wanted to commit suicide, and now they're like telling people that they can help them. What's the term?
Assisted suicide.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like ethical suicide and all this crazy stuff. Some people might say that that's medical advancement and that's progress. I don't think so.
No, that sounds like why aren't you? Because people are so depressed in the way society is constructed and they feel trapped. It's not a natural thing. If they want to make the phones and the technology and all that addiction to it seem like it's what we're made for, but we're not made for it. We're not meant to live like they want us to live.
And a lot of those people who want that assisted suicide is people that have cancer and they don't want to go through chemo or go through chemo again.
And I
it's like too much pain.
That.
And that's all contrived by the pharmaceutical industrial complex who makes billions upon trillions of dollars on people's health and the insurance companies and it's just so
like
evil. There's a snake literally on their thing, on their logo. There's a snake on it.
Yeah.
That's the devil.
And it's like, what have the pharmaceutical companies ever solved or done for us? I mean, yeah, you can go take an allergy pill or this. You're dependent on it because they spray shit in the grass and, they just go like back and forth. Food, the pharmaceutical. I mean, it's just
Johnson & Johnson putting cancer-causing chemicals in their sunscreen and then being the supplier of the cancer cure or the drug. All they're motivated by is money and power.
I saw this the other day on X. Bayer is a pharmaceutical company. Monsanto is a pesticide company. Bayer bought Monsanto. Bayer makes drugs for non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Monsanto makes a chemical called glyphosate to spray on food crops. Glyphosate causes non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. It's full circle.
They're spraying the stuff to give us cancer, and then they're in cahoots with the company that cures it.
Yep,
or
just
whatever.
Like,
it's just like,
and that is the reptilian
that.
brain thinking. Cause the problem, tell them how to solve it, because that keeps you in their control.
It's ridiculous. So there's companies like Monsanto, and all of them, they're all corrupt.
Yeah,
and they're all evil.
Yep.
There's no other way to put it. Why are they even spraying the crops? Oh, so the locusts don't get it. Well, we don't have a locust apocalypse happening right now.
I know.
And we were fine during the cicada Gemin that they tried to say last year was going to go. We grew all of our crops.
And the people spraying the crops wear those hazmat suits.
Yeah, because they can't touch it. And then we're supposed to eat it. The entire system needs a collective of like, okay, we need to completely break free. We want to do it. It can't be a joke's mission. It can't be a joke revolution. We're ready. Hey, thanks for tuning into this episode. If you are enjoying our show and support the It Can't Be a Joke mission, please consider leaving us a review on your streaming platform, following us on X, YouTube, Instagram, and Rumble, and showing your support by purchasing one of the many items we have for sale on our merch shop, which can be found in our link tree on our social media sites.
We're always looking to work with like-minded individuals, so if you're interested in working together or sponsorship opportunities, shoot us a message or email. Thanks again for all of your support.
Now, back to the episode.
I brought up the truth around scalar energy because the U.S. Government Accountability Office says all dues emit energy at the speed of light, which is a lie, and are often discussed in terms of their power output, the amount of electromagnetic energy transferred over time. So while dues use electromagnetic energy similar to everyday items like household microwaves, their power output is vastly higher.
They also state that they have high energy lasers that produce a very narrow beam of light, usually in the infrared to visible region, and are typically used at one target at a time. The beam can be pulsed or continuous, generating a power output of at least 1 kilowatt. This output is 200,000 times greater than a typical laser pointer and is capable of melting steel. So, wonder if they maybe use that to bring down some big old tall towers in 2001.
Because they are also, those scalar waves are unmeasurable, and they're like 5 times more powerful than the transverse waves that you can measure. And yeah, melting steel.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention, the only 3 steel buildings in the history of the world to collapse due to a fire were those 3 on September 11th.
And World Trade Center Building 7, there's no way in heaven or hell that a building is just going to collapse completely because of fire from the other World Trade Centers when it started on the top floors. It's a complete lie.
I can't believe how bad of a lie it's so insane.
If you're a new listener, go check out our episodes on 9/11. The thermite was found in the rubble that they found thermite, but then also there's theories out there that they used scalar, high energy lasers. If they're capable of melting steel, zip, 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 you have a building that's going to be coming down. Mm-hmm. There's that slow motion video of the buildings coming down. One of the huge metal steel beams is upright. And normally it would just fall over and hit the building to the left of it, but it didn't. It collapsed in on itself. We're talking something 40 stories high. It should just fall over and fall into the building next to it. It completely caves in the rubble.
Yeah.
It's either thermite or directed energy weapon.
They've had this technology for a long time. They also state that millimeter wave weapons have wavelengths between 1 and 10 millimeters and generate more than 1 kilowatt of power. Millimeter wave weapons have a larger beam size than high energy lasers and therefore can affect multiple targets at once.
So it bounces off, hits other ones. It's a death beam.
Yeah.
They have high-power microwave weapons that produce microwaves, which have longer wavelengths than high-energy lasers and millimeter wave weapons. These weapons can produce more than 100 megawatts of power, which is nearly 150,000 times more powerful than the average household microwave. Like millimeter wave weapons, they can also affect multiple targets because of their larger beam size. There is also theories of acoustic weapons. This is not on the accountability website, but we've researched and we've heard of acoustic weapons being used, which, they send the pulse out and it will disperse a crowd because they get hit with something that they don't know what it is, and it makes everyone move. So we believe that they use acoustic weapons if there's a huge riot going on or a protest, or they've tested it at concerts from videos that we've seen. And people are saying, are these acoustic weapons that made all these people move at this concert? Or I've seen a video of a huge gathering and then suddenly everyone is kind of just like blown back. And they use acoustic weapons to basically move a bunch of people, to disperse crowds. They call them sound cannons, also known as long-range acoustic devices.
So the U.S. Government Accountability Office is asking, how mature is it? DOs range in maturity from research projects to prototypes tested in the field. Prototypes, that's it, huh? The DoD named DOs as a technology critical to enabling the 2018 National Defense Strategy and reported spending about $1 billion annually for the last 3 years on research and development. That's more of our tax money being laundered.
But it's way more than that when you're looking at the whole black budget.
They say the U.S. military has tested a variety of DO prototypes since 2014, primarily for counter-drone missions. For example, the Air Force's prototype Tactical High-Power Microwave Operational Responder, or THOR, recently completed 2 years of testing.
They're also researching ways to increase the power output of DOs to engage more powerful targets like missiles. Can the DO take the super fast-moving missile out of the air? That's what they say they're researching. They already have it. They already use it.
I know.
However, the Government Accountability Office recently reported the U.S. military faces challenges bridging the gap between DO development and acquisition. Using these corporate stupid terms, between DO development and acquisition, potentially limiting widespread operational use. Lie.
Yeah.
No, of course you don't want normal humans out there running around with laser beam weapons. Duh.
Yeah.
But you guys, you have this type of tech? So you're telling me that with this type of tech, we can't use anything of the similar, like a Tesla wave that they say, to power a car and to power our home. and you keep us stuck on this outdated infrastructure. They hold it all. They hold all the power. It can't be a joke revolution.
Can't be a joke.
We want to claim this stuff.
Yeah,
for
I mean,
everyone.
it's out there. It's real. They just use it for evil and not the good. I don't know how else to say it.
99% of us have to work our jobs. We have to because we have to make ends meet. You got bills to pay.
Yeah.
99% of people are not actually truly living their dream job. What's your dream job? We are out there grinding because we have to make ends meet. We have bills to pay. But if we had free energy, all of that would be over. You put a little greenhouse in your backyard, you're growing your food. Oh, I got a chicken coop that's heated and powered by, some free energy. And my chickens are laying eggs. We get all the protein we need. And we are good. We are solid. We're good to go.
They gave us a different idea of what freedom is. They try to tell you, you can have the freedom to choose and you have all these options. But when they control the money, that essentially means that they control your choices, which is the opposite of freedom. They've created this idea of freedom in our minds, so people work towards that when freedom is something different.
You are free to not work and then be homeless.
Right?
The true,
That's why freedom isn't there, because they control the money.
Yes.
And you can't have the freedom of choice, because if you choose to not go to work, then you can't just go chop down some wood and build a house where you know what I mean? It's no.
Mortgage in French is death grip. It stands for
I told
death.
you that.
Yeah, it stands for
they have
death,
a death grip on you.
That's what mortgage means in French. So they have their death grip on you, and yeah, you're free to not work, but you're also then you're free. You're going to not have a house. You're free to not have a house or a home or apartment, whatever it is. So something to ponder. They also talk about some opportunities. Here's the opportunities that the government's going to say that they have. Complement to conventional weapons, DEWs use energy fired at the speed of light, making them faster and potentially less costly per shot than missiles. Some DEWs have virtually unlimited ammunition and can fire as long as they have power. And if it's the military and they have free energy power, well, they'll fire forever.
Right. Another opportunity they claim that comes from directed energy weapons is the ease of graduated response. The Department of Defense tailored DEWs to meet mission needs from non-lethal to lethal responses. For example, the longer a laser is focused on a target, the more damage or destruction will occur. They claim it advances other uses. Research and development for DEWs could also benefit civilian uses. For example, the development of high-energy lasers could help projects that use directed energy to transport or beam power to remote and disadvantaged locations.
So they're saying this is an opportunity. They have to research more and get it more developed. They don't need, I could see that being super helpful. Yeah, if someone's in Alaska and they need to be beamed over some power, but it doesn't need to be that complicated.
No,
to
it's
beam
just
power around.
It's more psychobabble.
Yeah.
It's quit trying to confuse us and say stupid shit.
Yeah, and then how's that place that's going to get the beam going to take in that energy? Doesn't make any sense. You need to set up power transponder things that can take in the energy. Breadcrumbing, though. That's a breadcrumb. Here's what we might be able to do in 30 years.
I know.
Some of the challenges that they say: technological limitations. DEWs are generally less effective the farther they are from the target, and atmospheric conditions and cooling requirements can limit their effectiveness. For example, fog and storms can reduce laser beam range and quality, which isn't true for all of them. Scalar weapons, no issue. Battlefield use. Decisions about how and when to use DEWs or conventional weapons may be challenging. For example, wider beam DEWs, such as high-power microwave or millimeter wave weapons, affect all assets in an area, whether friend or foe. So it's just like a huge blast from some of those videos that we've seen when they just blow up.
Yeah.
It's like it blows. It's like a bomb. It's a mini bomb that just, it's not mini, it's a huge bomb.
Yeah.
That's brought by a beam. We're talking, this is that Star Wars
I know,
beam.
I was just going to say that. And it's I doubt that they say that sometimes the cooler weather or certain weather conditions can lessen the strength of it. I don't think that was an issue for Darth Vader.
No. He took out the whole, was it Tatooine? He just blew the whole thing up.
Yeah.
Doesn't
I
matter
don't
if
know.
they got a storm.
They also say that there's ethical and health concerns. Although there are potentially relevant international laws and guidelines, their applicability to DEWs is not always well defined. Uncertainty around long-term health effects of DEWs on people either intentionally or unintentionally exposed to directed energy has led to concerns regarding the ethics of using DEWs.
Oh, the ethical and health concerns.
Yeah, just like put that at the end. Oh, yeah, well, it's not well defined, so there could be, intentionally or unintentionally, concerns.
Yeah, it's just a write-up. It's just a write-up they put on their
write-up.
stupid website for accountability, which is like still trying to make it all sound great and good, when in the end, the people who are using it are the warmongers, are the evil.
Yeah.
They're the ones who want war and to use them to blow up cities and towns and commit genocide against people. That's the military-industrial complex right now. Now, there is a bunch of other theories, which when you know all the different types that they literally have, it's right here, we're reading them. When you understand all the different types, that's when you start to look at all the fires that are happening across the country and world, and especially in our country this year. I mean, we put out that video on directed energy weapons a year and a half ago onto YouTube or whenever that was. And that was when right after the Maui fires. And since there's been like 6 other fires, let's look at Texas and then LA, obviously.
6 other major ones.
There's a bunch. I mean, I can't even keep track. There's different. Then there's tornadoes
LA,
ripping through
South
everywhere.
Carolina. I mean, yeah, everywhere.
And weather modification manipulation they use directed energy. They pierce the ionosphere to manipulate and control, and they do a whole bunch of different stuff with it. So the directed energy weapons, the accountability office doesn't really go in and speak about how, we're also modifying the weather with directed energy weapons. But there's these fires happening and all the storms, and they're going to blame it's climate change and it's caused by you. It's climate change and it's caused by you. It's preaching from the media and the people who are still programmed to watch that. They're like, oh, yeah, it is me. It really is. Yeah, I caused the fire that burned LA down.
I know.
And so here's the theory, the blue roof theory, which is all, if you just go on X and search up blue roof theory, and that you'll see, well, also you'll see, scorched earth all around, an aerial view of this neighborhood. All the trees are still up, though. All the houses are burned to a crisp. Oh, the trees are okay, though. Why didn't the trees burn? Or, oh my God, that person's lawn survived it. And their roof is blue. So the theory is that certain directed energy weapons they get reflected off, or like they don't lock on to the blue light. So you'll see all the other houses burn down and everything else is scorched. All the trees are fine though, but all the houses are burned. And there are some houses that are remaining and they happen to have a blue roof. So look up blue roof theory.
Yeah, what's up with that? I don't understand. I mean, I just didn't dig into that much.
The blue roof.
Yeah, I heard it, but like, what the heck is it?
Yeah,
Why?
it's that blue, the directed energy weapons that they use don't lock on to burn blue or something. Like in the light spectrum.
Yeah.
It doesn't lock onto that. So you'll see the roofs, you'll see everything else burnt to a crisp. The trees are fine. But
no, I
and
know.
then
It's
all
just...
the cars are burnt to a crisp except the blue one.
Oh
except
God.
the blue one. And this is all stuff. Just look up and look at all the people who are posting video, like that post their own videos or whatever about it. And then you just got to say, okay, well, why? This would be the biggest news story ever. Why aren't they covering it?
Yeah.
I wonder. I really wonder why. Oh, because they do it. So they're going to say that it's climate change and all these fires and it's just radical climate change. Well, it's either, it's them. It's them. That's our belief.
Yeah.
I'm going to believe it's them because my common sense radar just tells me, yeah.
Well, they burn these cities down and then have already in place construction for the 15-minute cities. You can read it. There's articles that came out 5, 6, 7 years ago about constructing and plans for the 15-minute cities and what they were going to build for the Olympics. And then this happens and, look at the president of the Olympics, I think he's from France, is stepping in to help us with funding and this and that. And it's like, This has been planned.
It's been planned years in advance. And they're also covering their tracks. I think a lot of these fires, and they're going to take it over. But Oprah's house is fine. Tom Hanks's house is fine. They're fine. But there's a lot of really bad, under our feet everywhere. Look up, we'll have to do an episode on deep underground military bases and just the underground, the tunnels, and the tunnels that connect so many of the buildings underground. Why is the hospital here connected to the church, connected to the school? These old tunnels that were built over 100 years ago. Mm-hmm. And that's just like, that's weird. That doesn't make any sense. Check this clip out. This is from the UK. This is from Great Britain, whatever they call it. England? How many names do they have? So this is them releasing in their mainstream news. Here's our new directed energy weapon. It's called the Dragonfire. Look up the video on it, please, because it is literally, it's a red beam and it's a Star Wars death beam. Check this video out.
This newly released footage shows the Dragonfire laser directed energy weapon system in action, and it could be in the hands of military personnel in 5 years' time. It destroys targets with an intense beam of light and has pinpoint accuracy. It's able to hit something the size of a £1 coin from a kilometre away.
So we've been talking about the cost of firing a laser weapon to be £10 a shot. And really all we're talking about is the cost of the energy that you need to fire the laser weapon, obviously once you've got the system in place in the first place. And that compares very favorably with missiles, which might be thousands or tens of thousands or even more per single shot.
Scientists say Dragonfire proved itself in testing in Scotland and has the potential to transform the UK's defence capability. It could be used on land or sea and would remove the reliance on high-cost ammunition.
Drones are a really good example of the kinds of targets that a laser weapon would be very effective against. And certainly in our demonstrations, drones are one of the targets that we've successfully engaged on a number of occasions at really useful ranges.
Britain isn't alone in developing this technology. Militaries around the world see the advantage, like Israel, which has Iron Beam, designed to destroy short-range objects too close for the Iron Dome system.
We don't like to compare Dragonfire too specifically with what's being done in other countries, because they have their own research programs which we're not privy to. But what I would note is that the Dragonfire technology that we've designed is UK bespoke technology, which is owned by us and can be used by us in support of generating laser weapons for our own platforms in future.
Dragonfire is now back from Scotland and will potentially be involved in further trials. Claire Sadler, Forces News.
So they're putting it right out there, right in front of you, the technology they have. People are conditioned to it now with video games like Modern Warfare. But a lot of people are just still unaware that it's actually real. EMPs in Modern Warfare, that, grenade that you throw, it's actually real. Electromagnetic pulse. So if the robots take over with AI, you need EMPs to take down mass droves of robots. We've all seen iRobots. Sweet, you have your gun. That's, but like, you're not going to be able to kill a horde of 20 robots patrolling the streets with your gun if they have guns.
Yeah, I haven't seen that, but no.
We should watch iRobot.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. But, yeah, your guns will just kind of bounce off a bullet.
Yeah, maybe it'll hit its internal hard drive and break them, but like then the other ones, it's just, then the robot dog comes and sicks you, and it has a gun
Yeah,
on
there
it
was
too.
a video out of the Optimus and the dog. That was like a rollout recently, and oh god,
yeah, they
it's
move
lame.
super fast. They can run.
Yeah.
Then there's robots at like big fairs in China, and one of the robots attacked someone. It's just like, what? This is so crazy.
Ugh.
Except it keeps being pushed, and all humanity's like, why? And then the demons in charge are like, no, keep pushing it.
No.
The technocracy takeover. It's so stupid.
Yeah.
So I think that you have a really good idea on directed energy weapons now. I think we've covered it from top to bottom, and then you can go take a peek into that. Now we want to talk about 5G.
Dun, dun, dun.
5G towers. You'll see them up on billboards with their beams coming out.
Those ugly, creepy little things.
They're
big
just,
things.
They're hideous. We saw a red one today. Red.
Oh, yeah, it was painted red. It's
5G.
like, ew.
Yeah. And we did an alert back last year in one of our first episodes about 5G and chemtrails, and it's all real and it's all there. And we're wondering if anyone has researched or dug deeper into it, or is it just a crazy conspiracy theory if you Google it? And that's the first thing you see from CNN. So we sent out this alert, if you go back and, if you remember it, talking about 5G and chemtrails. And we hope that it prompted some people to dig deeper and see what's actually going on here. But while humanity was grounded by mommy and daddy government, and we were all placed on house arrest, and many people were forced to get a shot. And if you didn't get the shot, jab, if you didn't get it, you'd lose your job because you needed to show your jab card with your vaccination date. And while we were all grounded on the pandemic by that lab fabricated bioweapon known as COVID, they erected the vast majority of 5G towers right when COVID was rolled out, when we were all locked away. That's when they put up the majority of them. They
started years before.
Yeah, a couple years before, but the majority were maybe back to 2016, 2017 is when the first, and then COVID, and then that's when they blasted off. And
it was also testing humanity. How well will everyone respond to being locked up and being told what to do and when they can go out, and curfews.
Yeah, and mask up. It became, now you still see people, I see people delivering, Grubhub and DoorDash with a mask on. So it's normalized people just walk around in masks, which I think is the most messed up thing ever. Okay, so you get to just walk around as a bandit? You just get to be a bandit always? I thought bandits just wore masks when they were robbing you on the highway. Now they're wearing masks whenever they want, just because I'm afraid to get sick. Yeah, that's why your thing has a big skull on it too, your mask, just trying to look badass. I think masks should be outlawed. I think it's weird.
Yeah, well, it's also getting us conditioned to not seeing people's faces and, just less and less human contact.
Yep.
Human interaction, seeing people's expressions.
Yeah.
That's part of it too.
To dull you down, make you sad, and nobody. You're just a mask. You're just the two eyes. That's it. And so they put these towers up, majority of them, when we were all locked away. Now you see them everywhere. When you go out for a drive, you're going to see 5G towers everywhere. They disguise them to look like trees. They'll doll them up so you don't even know. You think it's a tree. Put them up in a palm tree. They literally put camouflage on them so you don't know, because these things are so dangerous. They emit high levels of radio frequency, just like that stuff at the Air Force Base in Nebraska, owned by the Air Force, and those things that are definitely not just to make a phone call. The biggest lie ever. And these things send out extremely high radiation, and it's pulsing through us. We don't feel it right now, but the waves they're going through, and they're right by people's homes, like literally right next to your apartment in Phoenix. It was right there. It was 50 feet away. They're 5G tower. So, and they've even disguised them not just up in trees, but in light poles. Like, do you think it's a normal street light? It's actually, I saw it the other day. Someone did a video. It's a 5G box. So they have the 5G boxes all over. And they even said within each 5 to 10 homes that there's going to have these little small transmitters, and they disguise it as that's crazy. They'll put it anywhere they want. And the main thing to think about is it really to make your internet better?
Well, who knows anyone you would ask on the street, do they know what 5G really is? And do they know if they're talking about 6G, do they know what that is? Who knows what?
No, they just think that it's going to be quicker phone service.
That's all they know.
But it's like, it doesn't need to be any quicker. I was fine the way I was 10 years ago.
Because that's not what it's used for.
Exactly. They want you to think it's just so you have better internet, and it's going to be so much better. It's actually the human web. It's the control. It's the pinpoint accuracy where you're at, the location. Boom, 5G. Those towers can locate you immediately with that little device you have in your pocket. That also emits radiation. Your phone. It's in the disclaimer on your phone that it emits radiation and that it's harmful.
They state that if there's metal on your phone, maybe you put a metal case on it, that can attract more and may fall outside their safety regulation standards for radio frequencies that are being emitted or absorbed from your phone.
It's wild.
Yeah.
So it can be multiplied.
They just tell you to use earbuds or hold the phone more away from your head,
but it's like, don't use earbuds because those are so bad for you.
Yeah, those are so bad for you.
They're Wi-Fi. Let's just put the Wi-Fi in your brain.
Exactly.
As close to your brain as possible.
Yeah.
It's a good way to get cancer.
Yeah.
And tumors, and that's what they want.
Yeah, they don't talk about how the radio frequencies can cause depression. Because they're making everyone addicted to technology. So that's another part of like 5G is they're close to their electronics all the time. It's making people sick and depressed. And then they want to say, they're going to come out with another, even when they talk about like bird flu and this other stuff, it's like, or is there just more radiation causing sickness and they need this and that and whatever new disease they throw out there to cover it up?
It's ridiculous.
I'm just saying that's a possibility that the cancer has been increasing like crazy.
It's what they want. It's back to the pharmaceutical companies.
They won't ever admit that it's radiation poisoning.
That'll blow their cover.
Yeah.
But we're hoping that when people talk about it and expose it, that the cover will be blown sooner. Before it's too late. Those things they need to be brought down. They're all over. They're everywhere.
And it's tracking. They want to track because they eventually want everyone to get the brain chip, and they're slowly programming Neuralink because it's going to help people with Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. And now it's going to help with, brain diseases. They're just conditioning people because they want complete surveillance.
Yep. And then they'll have that with Starlink too.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry, they're gonna keep track. They're covering every base they can.
You won't lose your connection to the internet if you trust us.
Well, they can see in real time with the cameras they have that are so high powered. It's just like they're right there next to you.
Yeah.
And it's just
They're
so
everywhere.
Weird and creepy.
It's
and that's
creepy.
the devil. The devil's everywhere. It's not God. It's not good.
No.
God's already in all of us and with us. This is the surveillance of they call it the eye of providence, right? It's the eye of providence.
Yeah.
And that's the evil. That's the devil. And the other thing that drives me crazy about our smartphones is that we need them for work. I can't do my job, my 9 to 5, I need to do this or I can't pay my mortgage job.
Yes.
If I don't have my smartphone. We have to use all the apps on it. We have to log in and log it, all your stuff.
We're going to send you a code for your VSP or VSN to connect you to the software you need to use at home. So we're going to send you a text and yeah.
It's like you can't even work some of these jobs if you don't have a smartphone, which is so frustrating. That's why I want to just get into carpentry. I just want to go knock things down with a sledgehammer and just build it up with a hammer and nail. It's office space. And we want to cover a testimonial and honestly a dire warning for the dangers of 5G and 6G and 7G and when they're going to keep pushing it more and more and more and normalize it. Kevin Modis, who's the outreach director of the California Brain Tumor Association. His website is emfscientist.org, emfscientist.org. And it's made up of 267 doctors and scientists from 45 countries who have looked at health effects from wireless radiation. From their work, we can say wireless radiation can cause cancer, neurological problems, immune system disorders, and reproductive harm. People can develop brain tumors from cell phones and radiation emissions, neurological symptoms from Wi-Fi and school Wi-Fi. People developing neurological issues and cancer from smart meters even on your home. Cell towers are the most powerful source of wireless radiation emissions. The health effects, it's all terrible. I had someone talking to me that I met with the other week. They live right by a 5G tower. She's like, it's like 100 feet away. Mm-hmm. And she said ever since they moved there, like 3 or 4 years ago, they just always feel tired. They always feel sick.
Mm-hmm. And, the rollout of 5G technology was, they said, way more powerful than 2G, 3G, 4G. 5G uses way more power. Not for your internet, though. Standard wireless uses 1 gigahertz to 4 gigahertz, and new 5G ultra-high frequency is 24 to 90 gigahertz, and that is 90 billion electromagnetic waves per second hitting your body at once. You know, like you just said, people get sick from the lower frequencies. So just imagine these higher frequency microwaves. People get sicker, diseases and cancers develop quicker. They're stating that 5G doesn't travel well, so they need to put a cell tower transmitter in front of every 2 to 10 homes. That's a big problem because we know cancer rates around normal cell towers are 3 to 4 times what they normally should be. Like you said, neurological symptoms when you get closer and closer to cell towers. Again, I think that it causes depression. You're tired and your body is just getting hit with these frequencies. It's probably, if you're living right next to it, it's got to be exhausting. That continuous exposure to all people around you with those higher frequencies is so dangerous.
Yeah, it's constantly never ending. And then we have the Wi-Fi in our home. And that's why I said the end goal is to go Amish at some point when we can.
Yeah.
Because it's everywhere. We want to be free from it. But they have these towers. We have our Wi-Fi in our home. They're going to be putting up even more 5G than they already have. We don't need it to make our internet better. That's the thing here, is that it's not needed to make our internet better. There's an option to just do Ethernet core. They put fiber optic that went underground, but that lost steam. And I don't even know if that's better, but I think it is because it's just coming underneath the ground in a wire. This is the pulsating through the airwaves. So we got our phones emitting radiation. We have our Wi-Fi boxes. Then we have the towers that are around us. And these 5G towers, they in a form, a directed energy weapon. They are. And it would be a directed energy weapon in the form of a particle beam weapon. They can track you also wherever we go. Our location can be directed to our phones. It immediately can track you. And we personally believe these towers play a role in weather modification. That is our personal belief.
Yes.
That's our personal theory. Mm-hmm. The rest here is coming from our research done. But our personal belief is that those little 5G towers can manipulate, push out the frequencies just like they do with the other huge towers that they have all over the place that look evil. It would make sense. They can control them all. I think they have multiple purposes.
Yes.
So there's already the evil purpose of the radiation and the terrible sickness that it causes us.
Yeah, there's it reminds me of this book. It's called Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. And I wanted to give you a quick synopsis. I just discovered it. There's this top secret manual that was said to be found by accident in 1986 by an employee of Boeing Craft. He bought a surplus of IBM copiers for scrap parts at a government sale and found the manual inside. And the manual outlines a plan to control the masses through manipulation of industry, education, and politics, and to divert the public's attention from what's really going on. And it ties to this topic. Silent weapons for quiet wars.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
Yeah. It's the war of subterfuge and of our souls and the propaganda machine.
Yes.
It is. It's so strong, and it's been so strong for so long, and they just lie.
I know.
The elite cabal, the shadow government, some people say the deep state. They have no accountability. There's we don't elect them. So why are they there? They were formed by Nazis that long ago when we brought them all over here. So was NASA. So we got to do a big episode on NASA. They're one of the biggest liars ever. And
it's these hidden forces that are shaping our world that people need to realize. It's not normal what's happening.
And to be in their cult and their clique, the Hollywood elites in it, the intelligence, not every single person in the FBI is bad. Or the CIA, not every person in the CIA is bad, but a lot of them are really, really bad, evil bastards. And the way that you get into their cults and their clique is if you join their secret societies. So not every Freemason is bad. The majority are probably just normal people working who got into it for networking so they can make more sales at their sales job. But then there's the really, really bad ones and the evil that work their way up, and they're involved with all the other elites in the Hollywood. So you got the Freemasons. You look into the Illuminati, and I know when I first heard Illuminati, and a student asked me, do you follow the Illuminati reptilian shape? They asked me this in 2016. I'm like, what are you talking about? This is absolute insanity.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, it's blatantly obvious. The secret societies, and you join their cult. Then you see their symbolism everywhere. Look at the Super Bowl commercials. Look at all the Hollywood The Emmys or the Grammys or whatever their stupid little ceremony is, you can see in the back the Tower of Babel. It looked like Satan's eye or something. I can't remember what it was that we were looking at. It was
like a snake shape or something.
Oh yeah, and then the Freemason symbol.
Yeah.
And then that's all over the symbolism that they have. So you got to be in their cults to be part of their club. And then we just want accountability. And so this government accountability website can start to actually hold some accountability, because it's just like it's a smoke screen. It's a tiny breadcrumb here, and then it's okay. There's some of the stuff, but we're not really using it, or we're still researching the good and the bad. But we know people who work on these Verizon towers, and they have said that, oh yeah, you have to shut them, completely power them off before you go on them, because the radiation is just too high. You can't. So it's like, okay, well, why do we have them everywhere then? Why do we have them everywhere if the radiation's too high that you can't be that close to it when it's on? What about when you're 50 feet away from it, or 10? Why is it there? That it just blows my mind. And people are going to try to say you're a kook or you're a conspiracy theorist for believing it. How about you look into it more? How about you do a little more research for every single thing we talk about? The people who want to laugh it off and just say that's some crazy, they've gone off the deep end.
Yeah.
Or have we just woken up to the way the world is truly run?
Well, they've been conditioned by the media to just write it off. They've just been conditioned to do that and to just take at face value what the media tells you and say, okay, and not look into it any further. I mean,
that annoying girl on CNN, when they're talking about the she goes, no, those aren't contrails. And the chemtrails is a conspiracy theory that's been debunked a long time ago. She was the worst. Yeah. I despise her. But it's that kind of voice and how they talk about it and how they try to make people sound like crazy people. And that's why so many people still go along with that.
Yes.
But, chemtrails, contrails. When you talk to someone who doesn't believe and now they go up and they see it, they can't not see it because it's happening so much and so bad all over the place. But evil operates in the shadows. Evil operates through subterfuge and deceit. And the only way that people can be aware is if you talk about it. That's literally the only way. And then it spreads. And then everyone's talking about it. Then people are actually going to post about it and go out of their comfort zone and really, really, really just do it because it needs to be done.
Well,
the light starts, the fire gets bigger, and then everyone wakes up, snaps out of it, the slow lull.
Starts doing some critical thinking.
Critical thinking. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It's the emoji with the thinking. That's what you need to be about everything that they talk about.
We wanted to end with this really interesting information on this patent.
New patent. Remember, everything can be found in the patent office. Those are official. If you look up publication number US 2022-/0002159A1, that's the publication number US 2022-0002159A1. This is the 3D reduced graphene oxide composite for ice nucleation. So basically, what they're saying there is, 3D graphene oxide nanoparticles for cloud seeding patent. For cloud seeding. Nanoparticles, back to the nanoparticles. That's not real. Oh, well, graphene oxide is a nanoparticle, is it not? Mm-hmm. And so the U.S. Patent Office on their little page says 3D reduced graphene oxide composite for ice nucleation. So many patents out there. Why is there subliminal acoustic manipulation of the nervous system? We don't know. Maybe because they're evil, and that's what they want.
Well, and the graphene oxide is what they want inside of us so they can more easily track us when they get the brain chip.
Which they'll try to make it seem like it's, like you brought up, they're going to try to say, well, then you can't ever lose your kids or your dog or whatever because they have the chip, so you can automatically find them.
Yeah, it's for our convenience.
Which, that reason alone, it doesn't sound like a bad thing. I could see that being the biggest trick into having people get it.
Yes.
Is the comfort, right?
Yes, of course.
Yes.
They put all this worry and fear out there, and there's kidnapping and trafficking, and part of that narrative to push it now or bring it to light is to scare people into not wanting to lose their family or kids. And, oh, if we have the brain chip, if it's inside of us, I'll always know. We'll always know and we'll be safe. It's that illusion. Don't fall for it.
They're gonna get a lot of people to do it just for that. But like this chip, they want it to go in your brain. That's crazy. Nothing's ever touching my brain. Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
Yeah, well, they said they've just started researching on it now because it's happening. They're testing it. They've been testing it on animals, and I think mainly animals. So, and then it's going to be part of Cognify, which is a company in Austria that wants to use it on inmates.
Oh, to rewire.
Yeah, to rewire
their cognitive thinking.
Saying now they can rewire your brain, delete your memories, create new ones, and that's what it's all for. They want to take control of your mind. That's what it all comes down to.
That's just the devil right out in the open. But they're going to try to deceive you into getting it. It's just going back to it again. It's all the deceit. Mm-hmm. They're going to try to make it seem like it's some great thing you can't lose. It's so crazy. That piece alone is so weird.
Yeah.
Because they're going to gaslight a lot of people into getting it for that piece.
Yep.
Because they're trying to make it sound great.
That's why we're talking about this.
Don't fall for the trap. Keep your wits about you.
And keep looking up.